On this Friday night, pipeline project approved, where this new expansion will be transporting natural gas.
This will enable us to heat more homes, businesses, and hospitals and schools.
Plus what it means for jobs and the economy. Apology to Tumbler Ridge, the message from OpenAI's CEO after February's deadly mass shooting. Biopic backlash.
I love my family. I just want to do my own thing.
Why a new movie about pop superstar Michael Jackson is sparking controversy. And Monster Marathon.
Night 3 was the hardest night. I was puking for 2 hours.
This Canadian ultramarathoner's grueling, record-breaking run.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The federal government has approved a multi-billion-dollar natural gas pipeline expansion project on Canada's west coast. Ottawa says it will create thousands of jobs and add $3 billion to the economy. But the opposition says the government isn't moving fast enough. Our David Akin joins us with the details on the pipeline. David.
It's called the Sunrise Project, Jeff, a $4 billion venture to expand the natural gas pipeline system in BC. Sunrise is owned by Enbridge and 38 First Nations. The project includes the addition of about 139 kilometers of new pipeline by constructing 11 pipeline looping segments parallel to an existing pipeline between Chetwynd and the U.S. border south of Chilliwack. Sunrise will increase BC's natural gas transportation capacity by about 8%, or 300 million cubic feet per day.
This will enable us to heat more homes, businesses, and hospitals and schools in British Columbia, in addition to providing gas for electric power generation, industrial manufacturing processes which are expanding.
It will also feed the wood fiber LNG export facility now under construction near Squamish, BC.
The Sunrise Project will add more than $3 billion to Canada's GDP and generate over $700 million in tax revenues.
The government's political opponents, though, are not about to give the Carney government any credit.
This is an expansion of an existing project that took far too long for the Liberals to consider. Unfortunately, Mark Carney has kept in place all of Trudeau's anti-development laws.
But Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson says the Sunrise Project is an example of the new approach the Carney government is taking on oil and gas development.
Energy and natural resources do not make us prosperous when they are sitting in the ground.
The government said construction alone will create about 2,500 jobs and that Enbridge has already spent $52 million on Sunrise, much of that by hiring and procuring the services of Indigenous businesses. Construction on the Sunrise Project will begin this summer. Jeff.
David Akin in Ottawa. Thank you, David. Oil prices dropped today following news that U.S. diplomats are heading to Islamabad on Saturday for peace talks with Iran. A tenuous ceasefire is holding, but the two sides appear far apart on any permanent peace plan. U.S. President Donald Trump insists he's in no rush, but he's facing growing pressure to strike a deal to fully reopen the crucial Strait of Hormuz. Our Jackson Proskow reports.
In Pakistan, hopeful signs for peace, with preparations underway for a new round of talks between the U.S. and Iran, led by American envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff.
The Iranians want to talk. They want to talk in person, and so the president is, as I've said many, many times to all of you, always willing to give diplomacy a chance.
Against a backdrop of optimism, both sides continue to talk tough, with Iran at times disputing whether it's ready to talk directly to the U.S. at all.
We have all the time in the world, and we're not anxious for a deal.
At the Pentagon, the U.S. Defense Secretary warned the American blockade of Iran's ports will not end anytime soon.
The blockade is tightening by the hour. We are in control. Nothing in, nothing out.
While Iranian state TV showed 2 ships seized by the Revolutionary Guard in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign ministry said any talks will need to focus on sanctions relief, compensation, and guarantees of no further strikes by the U.S. or Israel. The U.S. remains focused on control of the strait and Iran's nuclear program.
I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time. We have plenty of time, and I want to get a great deal.
The longer it takes to get a deal, the further the economic contagion spreads. A summer of disruption is now all but guaranteed as jet fuel shortages grow, oil prices keep inching up and global markets remain shaky. A deal will only limit further damage. It's too late to undo much of it. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
And turning to the other front in that conflict, the United Nations says that Israeli attacks on Lebanon and Hezbollah's rocket fire on Israel may amount to war crimes. The UN Human Rights Office of the High Commissioner says it's documented several cases where Israeli airstrikes destroyed residential buildings, killing entire families. It says medical crews have also been targeted. And on Wednesday, an Israeli strike killed another Lebanese journalist.
Medical personnel, whether military or civilians, and other civilians, including journalists, are protected under international humanitarian law. Deliberately targeting them would amount to a war crime.
The UN says Israeli warnings to evacuate are often ineffective or even non-existent, making it difficult for civilians in Lebanon to know when to escape. The report also found Hezbollah fired rockets on Israel without the precision needed to hit military targets. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has revealed that he quietly underwent treatment for early-stage prostate cancer. Netanyahu, the longest-serving leader in the country's history, says he had surgery in December 2024. He also received radiation therapy 2 months ago for a small tumor. Netanyahu says he delayed announcing his cancer because of the war in Iran. That conflict against Iran has caused wild market volatility, and some people are even placing big bets on the conflict, using online prediction platforms such as Polymarket. It's part of a growing and controversial industry. As Redmond Shannon reports, a U.S. Special Forces soldier is now accused of using inside knowledge to cash in.
In the immediate aftermath of the capture and arrest of Nicolas Maduro in January, users of the prediction market website Polymarket knew that a user by the name Burdensome Mix had bet on the ouster of the Venezuelan president and won more than $400,000. Almost 4 months later, the U.S. Department of Justice says this is Burdensome Mix. Master Sergeant Gannon Ken Van Dyke, a member of the U.S. military who was involved in the operation to capture Maduro. He is now facing a series of fraud charges, accused of insider trading.
I think that I'm not happy with any of that stuff, but they have all these different sites. They have predictive markets. It's a crazy world.
In a statement after the arrest, Polymarket said, "Last month we published our enhanced market integrity rules to combat insider trading. When we identified a user trading on classified government information, we referred the matter to the DOJ and cooperated." Prediction market sites like Polymarket differ from regular betting platforms because they only facilitate bets between users on just about any event you can think of.
We have had this tremendous growth in prediction markets in the 2 years that they've been legal.
Major combat operations.
This week, a BBC News investigation said there have been suspicious spikes in betting trades on world events just before major speeches by US President Donald Trump. And the French Weather Service suspects an airport weather station was tampered with this month after bets were placed on the temperature. In Canada, prediction trading had been mostly banned. As of last month, it is now allowed, but only on economic data, the stock market and the weather. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
The U.S. Justice Department plans to bring back firing squads as a permitted method of execution. The move is part of a broader push by the White House to speed up federal death penalty sentences after a moratorium on executions under the Biden administration. It will also allow death by electrocution and gas asphyxiation. A Justice Department statement also blamed a shortage of lethal injection drugs for the backlog. The CEO of OpenAI has apologized to the community of Tumbler Ridge, BC, for failing to notify police about the mass shooter's online activity. In a letter, Sam Altman said, "The pain your community has endured is unimaginable. I have been thinking of you often over the past few months," adding, "I am deeply sorry we did not alert law enforcement." After the school shooting in February killed 8 people, the company revealed the shooter had previously been banned from its ChatGPT platform. BC Premier David Akin called Altman's apology necessary, but also grossly insufficient. Ticketmaster has now delisted resale tickets for events in Ontario. It follows the provincial government's new bill that caps the price of resale tickets. The company says it's complying with the incoming legislation, which will mean that resale tickets can only be sold at face value. Sellers who had their tickets delisted today will be able to repost them next week. The legislative change came after Ticketmaster customers complained about sky-high resale ticket prices for Taylor Swift's concerts and the Blue Jays World Series run. Tech giant Meta is planning to cut 10% of its workforce, around 8,000 jobs, as it ramps up spending on artificial intelligence. The company behind Facebook and Instagram says the cuts will offset the cost of investments in AI. It previously said it plans to spend $135 billion this year alone. Those job cuts follow tens of thousands of layoffs right across the tech industry in recent months, as more companies double down on AI infrastructure. Another spring storm strikes Alberta. Coming up, the drivers stranded overnight in snow and sub-zero temperatures.
Tornado, look at that. It's a satellite tornado. Good night.
We'll take a look at this powerful tornado in northern Oklahoma. It destroyed homes, cut power to thousands, and forced an Air Force base to close. The small community was hit hard, with homes and businesses leveled. Officials say at least 10 people were hurt.
As far as we know, the accident's about 10 to 15 kilometers ahead of us.
And this was the scene along Highway 63 in Alberta this morning near Fort McMurray, where hundreds of drivers have reportedly been stuck since yesterday due to a snowstorm. Treacherous conditions and multiple collisions brought traffic there to a standstill, stranding motorists overnight. Police say it will take several more hours for that highway to reopen.
Very complex. There still remains to be an extreme amount of accumulation of snow, drifts 3-4 feet deep on the highway. So it's going to take some time for the highways to be able to open up.
Authorities say they're bringing supplies, including food and gas, to those stranded travelers. Former Conservative leader Erin O'Toole believes his successor needs to change to compete with Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberals. In his strongest remarks yet, O'Toole says Pierre Poilievre's policies and leadership style are missing the mark. Our Mackenzie Gray joins us with the details and Poilievre's response. Mackenzie.
Jeff, the former and current Conservative Party leaders are sparring over what the future of the party should be.
I think they do need to moderate some of the positions to reach out to more Canadians, ignore the culture war issues, ignore the floor crossings, and just focus on the long-term prosperity of Canadians.
Erin O'Toole, who led the Conservatives from 2020 to 2022, telling Global News the party needs to adapt.
Prime Minister Carney is a smart and passionate Canadian, and the old tricks that they used to pull out on Mr. Trudeau aren't going to work with this guy.
We want to get rid of the new Liberal carbon tax.
When asked if he plans to moderate any positions, Poilievre decided to argue with the Global News reporter.
Will you take that advice? Or,
like what?
These are O'Toole's words, sir.
Like what?
An interview with my Ottawa bureau.
I think it's time that Mark Carney moderate his position.
This Prime Minister has ignored...
O'Toole was pushed out by caucus during the trucker convoy, opening the door for Poilievre to win the leadership, shifting the party further right and expanding who they talk with.
Those people don't give up, so I don't give up.
Including to many Conservative social media influencers.
Is that the pleb?
Some of whom received media accreditation during the 2025 election and Conservative convention.
Some of the influencers within the Conservative movement now are the biggest gifts to the Liberal Party I've ever seen. Ignore all those so-called influencers. They're going to guarantee you a loss in the next election.
Poilievre sniping back at O'Toole's 2021 election loss.
I think one of the reasons I got 2.5 million more votes in the last election than we had in the previous election is because we talked to everybody.
But those votes still weren't enough, with Poilievre blowing a 20-point lead in the 2025 election. Despite that, O'Toole still backs Poilievre to lead the party into the next election, Jeff, saying he's one of the most talented parliamentarians.
Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa. Thank you, Mac. The federal NDP will be down another member in Parliament, with their only Quebec MP, Alexandre Boulris, expected to resign. Boulerie says he is moving into provincial politics, with an official announcement expected on Monday. He's represented the riding of Rosemont-le-Petit-Pétry since 2011. With the resignation, the federal NDP will be down to just 5 seats in the House of Commons. A new movie about Michael Jackson hits theaters. Still ahead, why critics are angry about the controversial biopic. Nearly 17 years after his death, a new movie is reigniting controversy around the late pop musician Michael Jackson. The new film, Michael, chronicles the start of Jackson's career. It's now out in theaters, and as Taria Isri reports, it's sparking backlash over what's missing from Jackson's story.
Ready whenever you are, Michael.
Michael explores his ascent to superstardom, from the Jackson 5 and A Childhood in the Spotlight.
Y'all willing to fight for it?
Yes, sir. To escaping his abusive father and manager Joe Jackson's grip.
I need to think. I told you what to think.
The title role is played by the King of Pop's nephew, Jafar Jackson.
What I want the world to feel.
The biopic ends in 1984 at the peak of Michael's thriller superstardom. But it glosses over a central part of his life story: the child sex abuse allegations that still haunt his legacy. The filmmakers say they planned on tackling the allegations, which first surfaced in 1993, but that they were cut because of legal constraints.
One's understanding of Michael Jackson is not complete if you refuse to look at the whole picture.
The Jackson estate, which was involved in the film, maintains his innocence and calls the claims against him lies and money grabs. The pop star was acquitted in 2005 and died 4 years later.
We drive in.
But the allegations would ramp up again in the 2019 documentary Leaving Neverland.
Hello, Wade.
The documentary's director spoke to The Hollywood Reporter about the new film, saying people just don't care about the allegations, even if, in his view, Jackson is worse than Epstein.
I think with Michael Jackson, he was almost too big to fail.
The musician's daughter, Paris Jackson, also condemned the film.
There's a lot of inaccuracy and there's a lot of just full-blown lies.
There's at least one protest planned outside a Canadian theater, with organizers calling the movie a slap in the face to all child sexual abuse survivors. Taria Isri, Global News, Montreal.
The federal government has announced more than $6 million in new funding to support the mental health of our national team athletes and coaches.
High-performance sport demands a lot of us. Athletes may prioritize their physical performance, and sometimes that comes at the detriment of mental health.
The money will be used to provide mental health services for athletes preparing for the Olympics and the Paralympics. It's part of a broader $16 million commitment to support the overall well-being of our national teams. It's a grueling test of human endurance. Up next, the Ontario woman who raced into the record books.
Who do you trust? Separate fact from fiction. Stick to the facts. Global News, Canada's trusted news.
Welcome back. 2 runners are being praised for stopping to help a fellow athlete at the finish line of the Boston Marathon. AJ Haridas was about 300 meters from the finish when he fell, while he was helped up by Aaron Beggs of Northern Ireland and Robson de Oliveira of Brazil, both of whom were on track to record their personal bests. Beggs says it was a natural instinct to help.
I was so grateful to see Robson to come over and put his arm around him as well, and for the 3 of us to continue our journey and across the finish line, like 3 strangers, 3 different countries, and we'll have a story for the rest of our lives.
All of them qualified for next year's marathon. And finishing a marathon is tough enough, but imagine running a 490-kilometer race in the sweltering heat of the desert. It's called an ultramarathon, and one Ontario woman recently raced in Arizona. She not only won, but set a new course record. Nicole Didonato has her story.
Do a bunch of kicks.
Like any athlete, Celine Malone craves consistency.
I come from a background of
intensive training 2 to 3 times a day.
The Toronto firefighter took up running about a decade ago after competing in rugby, wrestling, and powerlifting through high school and university.
Basically, like, I'd run the Chicago Marathon.
Malone worked her way up to her first 200-mile run in Alberta back in September. But her biggest race, the Arizona Monster 300 last month. It's a 304-mile ultramarathon through southern Arizona's Sonoran Desert. Day and night, she trekked through rugged terrain, climbing more than 41,000 feet of elevation, all in the extreme heat.
A lot of my sleeps actually were just on the ground at the side of the trail. In total, I think I slept just over 3 hours.
There were times when Malone didn't think she would finish.
Night 3 was the hardest night. I was puking for 2 hours.
Malone's boyfriend and parents drove in a Sprinter van, meeting her at checkpoints.
Emotionally, you got to be there to support her. She's going through a rough time, so I do my best with that. But sometimes I got to put on the crew lead hat and be like, okay, like, I know you're having a hard time, but we kind of got to buck up and like work our way through this.
It's that support that kept her going.
I see the finish line and I just crossed it and I just couldn't believe it.
She crossed the finish line in 99 hours and 55 minutes, cutting roughly 5 hours off last year's winning women's time to set a new record and finish 4th overall.
It was quite a shock to me. Like, when I was passing some of the men, I was like, who am I right now?
With her running partner Henry by her side, Malone already has her sights set on the next feat. She has 2 200-mile races in Ontario this year, the first in June.
You are capable of so much. And, you know, put yourself out there and take those calculated risks.
Something she says always pays off in the long run. Nicole DiDonato, Global News, King Township, Ontario.
And that is Global National for this Friday. I'm Jeff Semple. Tonight, Your Canada is Parkland County, Alberta. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great night.